Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining this evening's session. My name is Chika Kasimpo. I'm a talent acquisition analyst with ACO Africa, and I'll be your moderator for today. The session will start right away because it is already past 6 in Ghana. All right. So to start off, let's see. All right. So to start off, basically, this session is meant to give us exposure and insights on the Global Markets and Research Institute pillar of the Bank of America summer internship program for this year. So I entreat everyone to please pay attention to every insight and every information that will be shared in the course of this program. We have astute alumni who have been through the same process and are presently here with us to share the very experiences they have had. So we are able to learn from that and also put the same into our applications. So we are successful in the process as well. All right. So I will just proceed. Okay. So this is what today's session looks like. We'll be talking about the Bank of America program. There will be a panel session and there will be a Q&A session as well, where you get to ask all your burning questions and have answers to them. Okay. All right. So about the program. Basically the Bank of America program, especially where ACO comes in. In our case at ACO Africa, we undertake the selection process, which is a bit rigorous and multi-stage to ensure that at the end of the day, we are able to identify high potential candidates that will get through to the corporate immersion stage of the program. People who get to the corporate immersion stage, eventually, once they are successful out of that stage, gets to meet with the Bank of America team for another step. All right. Okay. In terms of the structure of the program, what are some of the pillars and divisions we have for this year's round of the Bank of America program? We have the global corporate and investment banking pillar. That's one of the pillars we have for this year's round. And under it, we have the investment banking division. So we have pillars and we have divisions. We also have the Global Market and Research Institute pillar, which is the very pillar which we are going to discuss today. And under it, we have the Global Markets division. We also have the Technology and Data Analytics, and under which we have Global Technology, and we have Operations and Business Enablement, under which we have Global Payment Solutions, Chief People Organization, and Operations as the divisions under it. Okay. We want to give a lot of information about these pillars and divisions so that as candidates like yourselves, you'll be able to know which of the areas to apply to or which of them fits your interest to put an application towards. So because of that, we are having these sessions covering the various pillars. Just to essentially elaborate on all those areas. So we had the general info session on Monday, that's 11th. Then we also had one yesterday for the Global Corporate and Investment Banking. And today, as it is, we are having the Global Markets and Research Institute events to, of course, share more information on that pillar as well. And subsequently, we were having sessions on technology and data analytics, operations and business enablement, focusing on global payment solutions and chief people organization divisions, and also the other aspect of operations and business enablement, focusing on other divisions. All right. So I encourage you, please take note of the dates and the times for the various sessions so that you are able to join and to learn more about each of those divisions and pillars so you can know which one to apply to eventually. All right. So as I said, we'll be having a panel discussion. And on this panel discussion, we have two of our very strong alumni who have also been to Bank of America, gone through the same process, and they'll be essentially giving you all the pieces of information you need to be able to excel in your application process. So we have Jackson Ogbonna and Olamide Rufai to take over this session and share whatever they have to share with you. Yeah, so on that vein, I'll hand over to my colleague Elizabeth to continue with the panel session. So she'll moderate the panel session. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chika, for that introduction. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the panel session for this info session on global markets. So, as Chika rightly mentioned, today I'll be joined by two of our very own alumni. First off, we have Jackson Ogbonna. He is an ex-associate at Bank of America from FX Sales, and he's a member of the SU Africa 2018 class. He graduated from University of Ibadan, where he studied economics, and he will be joined by Olamide Rafai. He is an associate from the Global Market Equities at Bank of America, and he is also an alumni from the SU Africa 2019 class. He graduated from University of Lagos, where he studied economics. So, ladies and gentlemen, give a warm round of applause to our alumni as they join me here. Hi, Jackson.
Hi, Elizabeth. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm also doing very well. Hi, Olamide. Can you hear us?
Yes. Hi, Elizabeth. Olamide here. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. How are you also doing?
Yes, very good. Thank you for the introduction. Good to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's dive into the very first question. And I always start simple. I'll start off with Jackson. So, Jackson, can you tell the audience today what motivated you to pursue a career in global markets and what drew you specifically to FX sales over the other decks?
Yeah, sure. Oh, this is an interesting story. So, I think my career journey has been, anything but straight. So I interned at cool. So I interned at sorry, I was just looking at something. So I interned at Goldman in markets, and then I also interned in Bank of America in markets as well. And FX was an area that I was very interested in. Sorry, let me share my video so it's not just the antisocial. Okay, cool. I promise I'm not in San Francisco, but so yeah, I interned in markets at both banks. Um, was always drawn to like the FX side of things. I think it's because I studied economics at school, and so it just made sense to me. I understood what was happening in that sphere of the markets. And then um, twist of fate, I ended up joining Goldman in Prime Services, which is something different. It's more of platform solutions than the side of global markets that is very popular, which is like your equities, sales and trading, fixed income sales and trading. That's all that jazz. And so was in Goldman for about 2 years, then moved over to Bloomberg where I am now, and currently I'm in EFX sales. So somehow I still found myself in an FX desk after, after maybe like 5, 6 years. And so what drew me to FX generally is, just the nature of the product. I really liked it. Before the internship, I thought I wanted to be, on the main trading floor, right? Sales and trading, the same way you picture it if you watch like The Big Short and those films, right? But after spending some time, on the desk, I found out that my skills were better suited for project related jobs. So still in the markets, still supporting our clients that are trading, but not directly kind of like, pressing those buy and sells. So I would say I'm kind of like in platform solutions, and that's where I found like my skills are better, my skill set is better aligned. So, here again in EFX, I'm doing the same thing. So I'm still very much interested in what's happening in the currency markets, but I am not managing risk per se. I'm facilitating my clients who are managing risk. So maybe more on that later. But yes, that's what drew me to global markets, to FX and EFX in particular.
Interesting story you got there. So I have a question for Olamide, and can you walk us through what a typical day for you looks like in equities from the moment you log in to the end of the day? What are you actually doing, and how does the role of research and data shape every decision you make?
Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth, for that question. Hi, everyone. My name is Olamide, and I promise as well, I'm not antisocial, but I can't turn on my video because I'm still logging in from work. Um, but yeah, I think it would just be very good to give a quick, background about myself to everyone on this call. And again, very, very happy. Again, my name is Olamide. I'm originally from Nigeria. I schooled in the University of Lagos. I studied economics, and I work currently within the global markets division at Bank of America, and specifically within the prime financing department. So I think, my journey, similar to Jackson earlier, I did an internship at uni, my third year. 300 level at University of Lagos, did an internship with Bank of America on the commodities desk. I then worked at SEO for a year, so which is why I'm very happy to be here because I used to be Elizabeth and planning events like this, and it's always great. And then I got a full-time offer to work at Bank of America in 2021 to work as a relationship manager for hedge fund clients within the division I work, which is what I've then done. Obviously, progressed within the same division, and done that for the last 5 years. So I can obviously go into a lot more detail about like what I do specifically, but to Elizabeth's question in terms of what a day in the life, and I just think it's always good to just kind of share context, right? Like, and I just want to assume everyone understands what global market is, which is, dealing with, the secondary market, buying and selling of shares, trading, and, facilitating different products around all that, talk about bonds, equity, fixed income, currencies, etc. So markets, products, global markets across different region. And where I come in that regard is I work within a division that facilitates clients, which we call hedge fund clients, dealing in the global market. And yeah, I mean, a day in the life for us or for my role is pretty much getting in very early because people like to kind of refer markets people as like markets people, no pun intended, because it's always like very, very noisy parts of an investment bank. There's a lot of chit chat, phone calls, bells ringing, etc. Maybe not as exaggerated as you might have seen in some movies, but it's just as energetic. So it's an energetic part of an investment banking. We get in very early, around like, I'd say the earliest people are getting in from like 5:30. I get in a little bit later, maybe around 7:30. And then, it's pretty much all hands on deck. We're speaking with clients. We're dealing with projects around the different products we trade on the desk. And then you sort of like get like a launch. It's a typical 9 to 5 compared to what a lot of you guys might be doing at your job now, just that we're doing different things and then we're dealing in the global market. And then we kind of, work around when the market is opening for this product that we deal with. And then, kind of like, 5 p.m., 6 p.m., it kind of slows down and, everyone starts to leave around then. So it's like a 7:30 to like 6 p.m. shift. It could be later, it depends. Now it depends on the different role you do in the market. There are salespeople, traders, structurers, relationship managers, etc. So
Interesting,
that,
interesting.
yeah. So
Oh,
that I would say,
continue.
yeah, no, that I would say is kind of like, what the day in the life and, what my background is as a global market analyst. It could be more complex than that, but I'd say that's the high level explanation.
Very interesting to hear. So, Jackson, I have a similar question for you. You mentioned earlier on that you are facilitating your clients as they make some sort of interaction or some sort of trade. Can you walk us through what a typical day on your side looks like, especially before markets open, and what are you actually doing when things get busy?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So, for the audience, right? Just like Olamide mentioned, right? Global markets is a big place, and there are different people doing different things, right? The most popular part of global markets that people know are the sales and the traders, right? The people shouting, how much for 100 shares of Vodafone? I'll buy you 9.99. And there's that, hustle. Everyone is kind of like talking over each other. So there's that part of the markets, and that's the very popular part. And then there are other parts of the market. So Olamide, for example, has mentioned he works in prime services, right? Which was like a bubble that I was working in as well in Goldman, where we facilitate clients' transactions. So ideally, like in my role, if let's say euro dollar, right, goes up like 10%, like I would care, but it would be for different reasons, right? Someone on sales or trading would care because they are managing risk. I would care because my clients would be impacted, but I'm not managing risk. So what does my day look like? Um, I come in 7:38, and the first thing is to understand what has happened in the markets. I mean, I listen to the news as I prep for work, so I already have a sense of what has happened in Asia in terms of like the macroeconomics. And then I come in. I have like a spreadsheet where I monitor different projects that I'm actively working on. Again, remember I said, my role is not your typical sales and trading that, thinks about trade ideas and does all that jazz. So I work more of like with projects, with clients. So that's the first thing I look at. I look at like my book of work, what do I have? What has progressed? Because I work a lot of times with the US guys, and so they do stuff when I'm away. And so when I come in, I have to check where has this project moved to, is the client chasing, those kind of admin. And then once I see, okay, everything is good, then I'm like, okay, what's my proactive work for the day? So for example, in EFX, we sell a couple of things, right? So, and I work with the sell side. So I'm speaking with the banks. You can imagine like a market, right? If you go to any market, let's say Nigeria, you go to any market, Balogu market, right? You have the sellers and you'd have the buyers in the market, right? Imagine if you come to a market and there are many sellers, um, but there are not many buyers. Or you go to the market and there are many buyers, but the sellers are not selling what the buyers want to buy. So the buyers, they say they come in, they want to sell apples, and it's like there's no seller in the market offering apples, right? What will happen? The buyers will go to another market. So my role basically is to make sure that the sellers in the market are selling everything that the buyers want to buy. So then I think, okay, what's the opportunity? This is my list of clients. I cover over like maybe 20 clients, a couple of them in the UK, but I cover more regional clients. So clients in Italy, in Germany, in Switzerland, in other places. And so my job is to think and say, okay, what are the gaps, right? I can see these clients is selling apple and banana, but this client is not selling mango and pears, right? Can I work with the clients to make sure that they offer mango and pears in my markets, especially when I find out that okay, this particular seller is selling mango and pears in another market. I'm like, oh, why are you selling there and you're not selling in my market? Come and sell in my market. So that's like what my conversations would be like. So that's me being proactive and me being me trying to win businesses from my clients and help them to kind of see value, because a question that my clients will ask me after I tell them, okay, come and sell mango and banana in my market, they will ask me, do you have buyers? Is it worth my time, to open a new shop? So I have to do all that research and be able to make a business case with them and say, this is why it's worth your time to do this, and then help them make a business case to their management as well, why they should kind of like, because they would need to do all the tech connections and all that jazz. So that's basically what I spend um, my day on. And once I'm able to agree with the client and we, sign it off and they're like, okay, cool, you can start the project, then I add it to my book of work that I look at in the morning, and I kind of say, okay, where are we? Because sometimes the work can take up to, a couple of months. So that's basically my day. So it involves lots of meetings, meeting clients face to face, explaining the business, explaining what we are seeing in the market, doing data analysis as well is a key part of my job, trying to help them understand, okay, what they are even selling right now. Are there any gaps in the business? Where can they improve? And all that. So I do, a lot of that. And then obviously, taking my clients out as well is, a big part of my business, because I'm a relationship manager as well. And so, that kind of like takes your day. Sometimes you have late nights and yeah, you come in and you start again the next morning. So that's my day.
Interesting, interesting. There are so many moving pieces in what you do. And our audience today, I hope you are taking notice. There are so many parts to work in global markets. And as you heard from both Jackson and Olamide, there's a lot more involved than you would probably imagine. Moving on to the next question. This goes to Jackson. So, Jackson, EFX sales demands quantitative thinking. You mentioned it earlier on, market intuition and strong communication. What did you do to actually build those skills? And which one surprised you the most in terms of how critical it is day to day?
Yeah, if I let's start with which one surprised me the most. Um,
Sure.
what surprised me the most was the amount of people skills, like the is it the amount, but like you have to have really good people skills. You would think that, oh, because I have the best products and everybody would rush me and it would be easy to sell, and it's not like that. Like there are so many other things that come into play. You need to be able to speak to people, convince them, speak to other people, convince them as well. So there's a lot of that going on. Sorry, let me just sorry, I forgot that I was no longer in San Francisco. Cool. So there's a lot of that's going on, just for one project, right? You can spend maybe like 3 months pitching the projects and 6 months to implement. So it's lots of people's skills to get everyone together, identify the key stakeholders, convince them, work with them, and then let's say the project is finally agreed, then you need to work internally to make sure that that project is delivered on time. So there's lots of like people skills. Honestly, you would think that everything moves smoothly and like what's the use of a relationship manager, what's the use of a salesperson, but actually it's kind of like a lot. So that's what surprised me the most about global markets, especially like my role. And then what are the skills that are necessary, right? That was the question. So what are the skills that are necessary, and how did I develop them, right? Was that the question, Elizabeth?
Yes, yes. Basically, how did you build those skills?
So I would say skills. First one, people skills, like I mentioned, right? People skills, super important. How do you build it? By belonging to communities, by belonging to associations, in school, if you are in school, if you are in church as well, or any opportunity you have to relate with people in an organized setting, right? It trains you because it's almost the same thing that you'll be doing here, maybe just on a different scale. So, you being not just, let's say, for example, you go to church and you are not just going to church and coming back, you join a committee in church. From there you learn how to work with people, to manage people. The same thing in school. If you're in school, join your association of your faculty, your departments, student union, those kind of things. It helps you to grow your skills. And then, quantitative skills, definitely very important, especially in this day and age. Python is, I keep on telling people, if you're applying to a job in an investment bank and you don't know how to code very well in Python, then you are just doing harm to yourself. In terms of your application, you should know how to code. AI has made it very easy, so you should know how to, learn how to code using AI. And even if you don't want to learn how to code, prompt engineering, so there are many things that you need to learn, and they are right now at your fingertips. So people skills, quantitative reasoning, market awareness as well. If you're applying to global markets and I ask you what's happening in the US economy, what's happening in the Chinese economy, the Japanese economy, and you can't confidently tell me this is what is happening. Obviously, not going into details, but if you can't give me that gist, then that doesn't come across very well. So you want to make sure that you are plugged in. How did I do it? I listen to Bloomberg, and it's funny, right? I work now in Bloomberg, but Bloomberg was very essential when I was preparing in 2017, 2016, 2017, when I was preparing for my interviews, right? Right now, you have Apple Podcasts. So Apple Podcasts, they are free. They literally do podcasts every day. You listen to them. Like when you listen to people every day for 2 months, you start to speak like them. You start to understand their terminology, right? So if I meet someone and someone tells me, oh, the Fed is going to increase interest rates, versus someone that says, oh, the Fed is going to hike rates, there's a difference. The person that said the Fed is going to hike rates is speaking my language. Both of them said the same thing, but terminologies matter. Where did I learn about hiking rates? Listening to Bloomberg podcasts. And Bloomberg has so many podcasts. They're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Like you really don't have any excuse. So yeah, so I would say those three. I would stop at that: people skills, quantitative skills, coding as well, and then market awareness. And those are how to gain them in 2026.
Thank you, Jackson. So, our audience, I hope you are taking notes. This is some very useful insights. To Olamide, I'll ask you a similar question. In terms of global market equities, what are the skills or the things people need to build in order to thrive in this role?
Yeah. Um, Thank you for that question. Yeah, I think I'll try not to, repeat a lot of the things Jackson said because they're going to be similar, but maybe probably just to reiterate, like people skills, market awareness, very key. After all, that's the product you're dealing with, and I guess in any role that you are, the more you know about, what you're selling, the better you're able to articulate it or perform a good job. So, yeah, that is definitely important. I think the ability to also break down very complex information into, simple terms is also very, very key, which again borders into, I guess, communication skills. Um, because I think obviously at the end of the day, right, like you're always gonna get your internship, you're always gonna get your job because of how good you are in terms of your technical skills and what you know. But what obviously sets you apart is these other soft skills like how you can break down complex item, how you can navigate a difficult situation, how you can work under stress, because those are things that you wouldn't necessarily learn online or you wouldn't have listened to, you can't learn them. So it's something that you have to build. I mean, you can learn them, but it's not like an education stuff where, it's not 2 plus 2, but it's more about like your own personal soft skills. So I think, yeah, those are very, very key skills. Ability to be, proactive and, for example, there are just some things that when you're working on a project, it takes a lot to be able to, go through the hurdles and finish it. And these are probably skills that you already built in school when you worked on projects or when you worked on a course. But they are gonna be very useful as well at work because you'll be chasing maybe a deal, for example, or you'll be pitching to a client, and it takes a lot of psychological and mental, durability to take it from the beginning to the end and deliver. And that again sets you apart because a lot of people will be very good at starting stuff but won't be able to finish it. So the people that can, endure, that durability, I think, that is also really good. I also think one thing that's also very important is identifying your strengths. Um, because at the end of the day, you have to accept that you're not gonna be perfect. And again, sorry if I'm going a bit off tangent here, but I'm just trying not to repeat, some of the things Jackson have said. But yeah, I would say, just identifying your strengths is also a skill, being able to self-reflect, do a project, self um assess, how you've performed and give yourself feedback. Obviously, getting feedback from people as well. But most importantly, being able to know that, okay, I'm a very good project person, or I'm a very good relationship person. I'm good with people. Or, okay, I feel like I'm very, very good mathematically, or I'm good with data. So now let me use my strengths very well to compensate for, like, places that maybe don't come naturally to, because you're never going to be perfect. But at the same time, when you identify your weakness as well, you have to also, build on them. I think one good advice I actually heard from someone is that you should spend more time doing stuff that you hate than you spend doing things that you love, because the more you then do the things that you hate, then so for example, a lot of things I know most of us as Africans we struggle with when we go and work abroad is like maybe networking, because we're just not used to like different cultures. Sometimes, it's just a bit of a shock. So you have to then do that more. You have to then speak with people from other countries more. You have to learn about culture, not just in Ghana and Nigeria, but about other places. And then the more you do that, the better and better you become. Back to what Jackson said as well. The more you listen to like other materials, podcasts or newsletters, that then gets you more comfortable in those things that might already be like your default weakness, and then it becomes a strength. And now it's like you're going from strength to strength. I think that's a skill in itself, just being able to analyze that. I think a very good skill also is now knowing your home, in terms of like how much do you know about the Ghana Stock Exchange or the African market or Nigerian market, because at the end of the day, where if you're going on an internship, maybe in the UK or in the US, they're also bringing you for some of the unique knowledge you have, and you'll be surprised how much knowledge over even some people that have spent 25 years in the industry here, just by the fact that you live in Ghana or you live in Nigeria or you're closer to what is happening in Egypt, or you know a bit about East Africa. That insight is gonna be gold for in a place where they don't know about that. So make sure you don't, make sure you take pride in like a lot of the things that like, Dangote is doing an IPO very soon. Oh, Nigeria has just done a refinery. Oh, Ghana is just reduce their monetary interest rate and stuff like that. I think it's very key that you're very aware of like your own regional markets, or your own, home market as well. I think that's also a skill. I know it's not like um, it's not something you call a skill, but I'll say it's a skill. Just, having all this information. So good base of information, good communications to having, strong kind of mental endurance. I think they are actually classified as a technical and soft skills, because a lot of the things you're gonna learn education wise, knowledge about the market, they're gonna be everywhere. You're gonna have access to them on Google. Now there's AI, there's ChatGPT. It's no longer kind of like everyone knows that. So it's now the extra thing that makes you stand out. And I'll say they are very key skills. Yeah, for
Very
you.
interesting. And I like how you highlighted on how your background can also play a role in terms of the experience you bring on board, and also how you can contribute to your team. So our attendees, be taking notes. These are very valuable lessons. Moving on, I have a question, and Olamide, I'm going to start from you as well. This is very specific to global markets. So, what motivated you to go into global markets? You've spoken a lot about how that experience was like, but let's talk about the motivation. And I know some people in our audience can relate to whatever you say. So, basically, why global markets?
Yeah. I think for me, I've just had a more natural um gel towards global market because I studied economics University of Lagos. So, that kind of shaped it. Again, when you hear about investment banking, there's a lot of division. I think it's also important for you to have as much information as you can about these other divisions, and then you can now, make an informed decision where you want to be, right? Obviously, there's always flexibility along the line. We've seen people go from being tech experts and then coming into global markets. We've seen people going from global market and being investment bankers or vice versa. So, it's never like, you can always change. So just have that at the back of your mind. But I guess, what motivated me to go into global market is more of like my background in economics because, naturally, what we did in economics was about the macroeconomic environment, how micro factors affects macro factors, consumers, interest rates, inflation, how that affects companies, how that affects the government budget or stock prices. So this is something that I find interesting, and also because I feel like also love like maths in terms of like numbers, and yeah, so I had strengths in those areas, and identify that global markets is somewhere that, that's where my strengths are more useful. So that kind of drove me towards global market. But again, global market is very big. There's so many areas, and you can literally you have different, I guess, qualities, different things that you have that would work within different divisions in global markets. So, but I guess on just that general level, that my background in terms of what I studied, and then what I then gain access to. I started like obviously getting involved in like an investment club in university. I had the chance to have, I guess, people that I can call like role models back in university that went and did internship at the bank. And yeah, so the more information I had about global markets just kind of solidifies that my strengths worked within that department. And yeah, I had a stronger chance of getting an internship there. That's why I pursued global market.
Interesting to hear. And I have a question that will be going to Jackson. So Jackson, um, between FX sales and equities, I know many people want to understand how these two areas connect inside a bank. And also tell students about how these careers really differ from one another in the division. Could you highlight more on the differences between FX and sales? Sorry, FX sales and equities from your end, and then later on, Olamide can also touch on the difference from his end.
So I think Olamide mentioned it right. You have to when you get into global markets, right? That's when you see that there are so many options, right? It's not just your usual um, salesperson, trader, structurer, or research. Like in global markets, there's a huge array of businesses, and that would vary by bank. So some businesses that, for example, Bank of America would have, other banks would not have it, and vice versa. And so equities and, for example, FX, right? There are two different products classes. But ultimately, you do the same thing, really. It's kind of like in the grand scheme of things, right, those divisions or those businesses are trying to facilitate client transactions, right? So if you think about it, let's say you have a big fund, like let's say Vanguard, for example, So Vanguard has a couple of ETFs that they manage, right? So Vanguard would have, and sorry for those on the call, sorry, let me break it down. So who is Vanguard? Vanguard is a very big name in finance, right? They're like big boys. And what do they do? Many things, but for the sake of this example, they are an ETF provider, right? And what is an ETF? An ETF is basically a basket of stocks. So let's say, for example, I want to bet on, and this is something I'm doing right now, so not investment advice. So I want to bet on space, for example, right? I think, okay, space is like the next big thing. The same way AI right now is the next big thing, right? Space exploration is the next big thing. And I'm like, okay, cool. So which stock should I buy? I am not, I don't know what they call it, an astronaut, right? So I don't know the stocks in this area. I don't know which particular company is doing well or won't do well. So instead of placing my bet on just one company, I can buy a basket. So a company like Vanguard will say, you know what? Instead of betting on one company, let me create a basket of God knows how many stocks related to this investment theme. So like space. And so they package the baskets um, into one entity. And so now, when I want to get exposure to the space sector, I'm not buying a particular stock, I'm buying an ETF that has underlying stocks inside. But I don't care that they have underlying stocks. Buying the basket as it is, right? So that's what Vanguard does. Very good way to invest, by the way. And so, um, what Vanguard, for example, Vanguard is a US firm, right? Vanguard is a US firm. And let's say they have dollars, but they've made a couple of ETFs, right? They're a global ETF provider. So let's say, for example, if I want to get exposure to Indian stocks, I believe emerging markets is going to be the next big thing. So I want to get exposure to whether Indian stock, Taiwanese stocks, something like that, right? And I don't want to buy individual names. I can buy an ETF, right? The basket. Who made this basket? Somebody like Vanguard, right? There are different other ones, but let's use Vanguard, for example. So Vanguard did that. But if you think about it, Vanguard is a US company. They have dollars, for example, right? But they've gone to make an ETF of Indian stocks. Guess what? Those Indian stocks are not, they are not traded in dollars. They are traded in Indian rupees. So Vanguard, in that business of making ETFs, they have an FX component that they need to take care of because they have the dollars. They need to sell those dollars and buy Indian rupees and then use those Indian rupees to go and buy the Indian stocks and create the ETF. There are so many other complications that go. For example, there are some currency hedged ETFs where even if you are buying Indian stocks, right, the ETF that they give you is denominated in dollars or pounds. Like they have how they've currency hedged it, and they constantly do that. So in the business of, and if you think about it, right, their business is equities. That's what they do. That's where they get their money. But they have embedded FX risk. And so this is an example of how these two pods would work together, equities and FX, because it's the same Vanguard that will go to, for example, the equities ETF desk, and they would be maybe like APs that would help them redeem and create shares on the ETF, right? Is that same Vanguard that will come to an FX desk and say, you know what, I have a large order of dollars that I want to change into Indian rupees. So this is how these desks they kind of like communicate and they work together. The same thing, let's say you have a bond trading firm. If they trade some bonds, they trade foreign currency bonds, right? They want to hedge those exposures, the FX component, and so they will come to the FX desk. So that's how kind of like these desks kind of like they work together, right? So how are they different? They are different because they are different asset classes, equities versus FX, but you can see they are interlinked, right? It's usually the same customers, that would work between both desks. Um, was that the question, or is there any other thing I've
Yeah.
missed?
No, you covered it all, actually. That was great. And
Oh,
I will pass this one along to Olamide so Jackson can rest for some time. So, Olamide, after going through the SU Africa program before joining Bank of America, What part of the experience prepared you most for life in global markets? And what did it teach you that no textbook or lecture could?
Yeah. No, that's a very, very good question. Yeah, I'd say SEO was a very, very important part of my journey, and a lot of my friends that work here, and the SEO alumni, which were part of my class and the class before and after. I think it's still something we reference even up to today. A lot of my SEO etiquettes, are still things that I use now, and it's taken us really far in our career. Obviously, I've worked within the team that I am currently right now. So yeah, I mean, what are the things? It's hard to point, but I think like I've said throughout this call is that what you learn and the education bit and learning about the products that you can always learn anywhere. Like everyone's gonna learn that. You can do a lot of good job there, but a lot of the other etiquettes are very key. So number one, just that culture shock that you get when you work within a new environment. As you emphasized a lot of this part during our training. I was actually lucky to do two classes of SEO training. So one was during my first internship, and then I did another one just before I joined the bank, which was like a training. So yeah, so I mean, yeah, we had sessions around culture etiquette, like things like how you eat, the dinner etiquette. Right now, I actually do in a client facing role where I take my clients to dinner, right? And a lot of my clients are actually Africans. Like some of them are from Sweden, some of them are you know Americans, different companies, countries, and they have different culture. So that is the training that I got like 5, 6, 7 years ago from SEO. I still use that up to now in my career. Trainings around networking. For example, how you start a network, how to leave a good impression on someone. Well, every day, in my job, I'm meeting new people, I'm speaking to new person. Sometimes you're speaking to someone junior to you in terms of that you have more experience than. Most times you're speaking with someone that has more experience than you, or a CEO of a company, or the CEO of a company, and it goes a long way leaving the first impression. Um, how to ask questions, how to ask intelligent questions. These were like very, very, very crucial training during our internship. I think, and I don't know if this is still how it's still done, but back then we used to say our name first, where we're from. My name is Olamide Rufai. I've studied economics at University of
Oh
Lagos,
my
and I'm in
God, you're
global
just
market
kidding.
division. So listen, these are very, very key lessons.
Mhm.
SEO made us repeat this, for hours every day. Every time we stood up, someone remembered your name, someone knows what division you are. These are very, very key, lessons that I will still use at the job today because, the other day I'm on a call with like 20 people from different regions. We're working on a big project, moving, huge sums of dollars for a particular client. And well, you need to speak, make an impression, let them know who you are, and mark your authority regarding that project. And yeah, this is very, very valuable training we got from SEO. Some people that didn't, have the opportunity to do SEO probably didn't have those kind of insights. And I'm not saying maybe they wouldn't be successful, but we might have an edge against those kind of people. And that was very good. Um, also like just being there's so many lessons. I think those are just like examples that like popped to my head that I could obviously talk about.
Yeah.
Obviously, every morning, every project, we had like a new summary. Jackson, I don't know if you remember this. The first thing, something new that you learned on the news, we did like a news presentation. We had the
Yeah,
presentation
I
from the day
remember,
before.
and I think had to
Yeah,
send those as well. Like, oh yeah, it was
exactly.
wow. It
So
was
those things really prepared us for like the work environment because guess what, like every day when we come to work there's always something that you have to jump in straight when you go in. So you needed to really like understand what's going on, read your emails, know a lot about the market. You need to like basically there's so much pressure in like the
Yeah.
first few hours when you get into work. A lot of that SEO actually taught us because we got used to that a lot earlier. That this is a very very high pressure job. You had like 5 6 assignments to be presented the next day, and then it was we were so stressed. Oh, we need to finish this PowerPoint. We stayed up late. We had a group, that we were working within. So that was also very very key. Ability to work under pressure. Bang on. When we came in here, I'm not saying it was a walk in the park, but we actually understood it was now muscle memory doing these things. Like it was already part of us. There's something about just learning something. There's something that SEO did was that SEO gave us this training that made it part of us. Um, Being able to talk, completing your sentence, you don't tail off, you finish your sentence, this, it makes you appear confident. It makes you because a lot of the time we're saying very, very good stuff, we're saying very intelligent stuff, we're saying very informative stuff, but because you don't finish your sentence, you tail off, then the people on the other end then assume maybe you're not confident enough. But because SEO taught us that, it was part of the training, it became very, very useful and very useful to my journey. I would say for sure. I'm pleased to work in a group, within my SEO group, and we have people
Yes.
from Ghana, from Rwanda, from different places. At
Amazing.
work, we're working with all these people. So yeah, there's so many things I could go on, but yeah, there was definitely a lot of things I learned from SEO that were part of the journey.
Amazing, amazing. That is great to hear. And all the principles from then still apply currently. So moving on to the final question for today. This is to both of you. Can you share some final word of advice to other people in this room who are seriously considering applying to Bank of America, especially the Global Markets Division? So I think I will start with Jackson on this one very briefly.
Yeah, I would say make sure your CV is ready. You have the SEO standard, your OBENG. I don't know if that's still passed around. You have that. What would look good on your CV? If you have working in different associations, again, that shows you've cultivated those people skills. The technicals, most especially, I've mentioned Python, do stuff that will wow people because right now the competition is fierce, right? The competition is fierce. So, do stuff that wow people, create stuff in Python that you can show and say, hey, for example, I built this. If you're interested in markets, you can do something like, I built this simulator that, would give buy and sell recommendations based on X number of factors, right? It takes into account X number of things and then spits out the recommendation. If you tell that to anyone and you show that to anyone, that's an automatic tick box in their books because that's what you'll be doing, if you are going towards that sales and trading, right? You are pitching trade ideas to clients. So, use all the available tools, learn how to code in Python. There's AI to help you, and, beef up your CV really. That's what you should be doing, and your market knowledge. Like I said, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. There's lots like Bloomberg is doing, all other banks, they do podcast as well. Just literally go on ChatGPT and ask it and say, hey, I want to learn, finance lingo by listening to daily podcasts. Give me an example. Or Bloomberg is the best. I'm not being biased, but Bloomberg and then other banks, right? Make sure you are ingrained in all these things. And, I think that should be something that will set you apart.
Thank you for those final words, Jackson. Olamide, what about you? Final words to our audience today, to all those who are considering applying to Bank of America.
Yeah, I'll say yeah, no, apply. That definitely don't leave your application in drafts. Make sure you apply. That's number one. If you don't apply, you don't get selected, you don't get in. Reach out to people, people, Bank of America, don't be shy. Take that leap. apply, reach out to people, ask questions. There's unlimited resources now. I'd like to say, like, our own time, we had resources, but I feel like now there's even more resources. So definitely use all the resources at your disposal. Um, Very, very important also, like Jackson said, always go beyond and above. And again, this is something we learned from SEO. Like, never do the barest minimum, never do it's okay, never do good. Don't do excellence. Do beyond excellence. Like, because that would always make you stand out. Like, the extra mile. Think creatively, but then don't also be scared of, like, letting people know your ideas. Whether you think is wrong, whether you think is right. The thing about marketing is there's no wrong or right, and nobody actually knows what's gonna happen. So you can be right, right? So don't think, oh, I'm wrong, or maybe I don't know. Don't think about that. Like, always, like, be ready to talk about your ideas. Always be ready to share your ideas. Always be ready to share your insights. What else? Yeah, I mean, your basics are super important. I'm not focusing on that because it's not even a question. Tell Microsoft, PowerPoint, if you can learn coding, please do. But I would say a lot of roles need different tools. So some roles don't even need coding. Some roles they don't even use Excel as much. It depends on when you learn. But you don't want to take that risk. You don't want to take chances. Learn as much as possible all the skills that you can to a very good degree. Now you have AI, you have YouTube. There's so many resources for you to learn. So don't come in and not know, like, your basics, right? Don't come in and not know the market. But then also never be scared of asking questions, because even the most experienced people will ask questions. I think my final advice would be a good listener. It's not just all about talking about your ideas and talking, talking, talking. Also be ready to listen, and not just listen, but listen actively. Listen and actually, understand and, ask questions, right? Yeah, I think that should cover it all.
Thank you, Olamide. That was very insightful from both our panelists today. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know you probably want us to continue this panel discussion, but because of time, we will have to end here. A big thank you to Jackson and Olamide for setting aside your time to engage our audience today, share what they need to do, and just relate with them as they go through this journey. So, thank you once again. I'll pass it along to my colleague Chika to continue with the Q&A section for this program. Hi, Chika.
Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you very much, Elizabeth, and thank you to our panel for the very insightful information you have shared with us. I believe our audience are more than inspired to apply for the program. Please, let's appreciate our panel. My audience, if you can hear me, please show by reaction if you were very impressed by what you heard. Let's appreciate the panel. Can I see any reactions? All right. Okay, at this stage, we are the Q&A stage. If you have any questions that you want answers to, please raise your hand and have your question asked and answered. Fortunately, because I'm sharing, I'm unable to see the hands. Elizabeth, if you can help me with that, with identifying
Sure,
those hands are up. Yeah.
definitely. So Wilhelmina has raised her hand. I will give the floor to Wilhelmina. She's the first hand I can see. So Wilhelmina, go ahead with your question. Hi, Wilhelmina, can you hear us?
Thank you very much. Question is that, for context, the investment banking sector has been characterized to have or record high burnouts because of the pressure the work comes with, since you're dealing with huge amounts of money and the long working hours. I think on average 70 to 80 hours per week. So my question is generally, how do you manage that pressure? How do you manage the burnout to be able to work effectively even under pressure?
Okay. So I think any of our panel members can take that question.
Maybe I
Rufai,
can. I
okay,
um I
all right.
had 70 to 80 hours per week. And in my mind, I was like, not me. That's definitely not me. Um, I work 40 hours a week tops. Yeah, no, I can't speak for other divisions, but I don't think anyone in markets works 70 to 80 hours, right? Because once the market opens, that's when you're active. Once the market closes, there's really nothing to do and everyone goes home. So, but you are right. It's like high intensity, it's high pressure. But it's fun, really. It's fun. So time flies when you're having fun. So, you would only notice it if you are not having fun. And then that's your cue to find something else. Um, I would say, um, yeah, I want SEO training makes you aware that this is not uni where you have some days you have lectures starting by 12 noon, some other days you have lectures by 10, you might only have one lecture a day. So it's like a different stage of your life where you need to be awake for extended periods of time and be active. Some people manage it different ways. Some people, drink coffee. That helps them. That's the culture here. I don't drink coffee. Some people go to bed early, that helps. It's a lifestyle. But I think, yeah, I think at first when you join, it will be intense because you are trying to learn, and so you do stuff like two times slower than everyone. So obviously you need to put in the work the first couple of months. But once you get into the rhythm of things, then um, this is markets, not other divisions. So yeah, we don't work that long hours, and you are able to have a life like Friday nights. I'm always happy to go clubbing if anyone is, interested. So if any of my friends are interested, in doing that, so it's intense, but you get used to it, and once you enjoy it, you don't notice it, and it's fun.
All right. Thank you very much, Jackson. Elizabeth, is anyone else's hand up?
Yes, for the next hand I can see, give me a moment. After Ruhomina, I can see New Love. So New Love, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I wanted to ask, since I heard a lot about the market and how sales are made in dealing with clients, that do you specifically deal with buying and selling of cryptocurrency? And if you do, how do you weigh its stability or viability? Because from what I know, compared to traditional currencies, it's quite fluctuating. And because of that, a lot of sellers or buyers are wary of cryptocurrency. So I wanted to know how you deal with buying and selling of cryptocurrency and weigh its stability and viability.
Okay, so New Love, I'm going
Okay.
to ask you to direct the question. Is it to any of our panelists or to
Oh,
both of them
yes,
in general?
yes, please. I think I would like to specifically ask Jackson.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, cool. So, crypto, I think crypto, different banks have different businesses, right? Remember I said in global markets, right? So you have equity sales and trading, FX, you have fixed income, you have commodities, you have currencies. Some banks have what is called digital assets desks. Now that's still new and upcoming, because crypto as an asset class, right, is new. New love, given you asked about crypto, hopefully you are in tune with what's happening, right? You had the Genius Act that was recently released, that was recently put into legislation by Donald Trump, right? First legislation of its time. You also have a CFTC and SEC chairmen who are very much crypto friendly and so are spitting out different rules, right? In the days of Gary Gensler, who was the previous SEC chairman, right? They were very punitive in crypto. There were so many regulations that did not allow banks to enter. For example, there was a particular regulation that said if you are holding crypto on your balance sheets, you need to hold 2 times the amount of collateral, right? The amount. So that was very punitive for banks. And so they couldn't make a business out of crypto. But right now, you've had, like I said, favorable environments coming out from the US. Because of that, you see lots of products now coming up. Back then, we only used to have, if you wanted to invest in crypto, you could only invest in, you could only maybe go into Binance. So whether your exchanges, Binance, KuCoin, and the rest, and buy it, or you had your own separate wallet where you could buy that. But right now, different products are coming out. So you have like spot ETFs. So iBits being the biggest, iShares, spot Bitcoin. So you have Bitcoin ETFs. Coming up. But then you also have basket ETFs coming up as well. So ETFs that not only hold one currency, one cryptocurrency, it holds multiple cryptocurrencies as well. So because of the new legislative regime, more friendly regime, right? You have different products coming up. And these products, right, guess who would support them? The banks. So if you have an ETF provider, that ETF provider might have currency risk, which they will manage with the FX desk. They might have they might need to interact with the ETF desk as well to market these securities, and all that. So gradually that product, crypto, is coming in into the financial rails. Now, whether or not you think Bitcoin is going to go up or go down, that's a speculation, right? Olamide mentioned it, right? In the markets, everybody is right and everybody is wrong. It's just what time frame are you talking about? Because a stock will surely go up, a stock will surely come down. It's just what time frame are you talking about to see whether you're right or wrong. So whether or not Bitcoin goes up or goes down, that's left in the air. Anybody can speculate. But like, is it becoming an asset class that banks are looking forward to and trying to make a business out of? Yes, it is. So if crypto is where you are interested in, don't let it stop you. There are banks that, like I said, actively are growing their digital assets teams because of the way the industry is changing towards crypto. So if that's what you're interested in, continue kind of drilling there. If you want a couple of podcasts that you can listen to, because I'm also a big crypto fan. I was trading crypto in when I was still in uni, like 2018. So I've been plugged into the ecosystem. If you want to listen to a couple of podcasts on crypto, check out Apple Podcasts, check out CoinDesk. So coin, then desk. CoinDesk, they have a couple of podcasts. So CoinDesk Daily, for example, they have a couple of ones that they tell you what is happening in the industry. So it's not a podcast that's, of optimistic people that tell you Bitcoin is going to the moon. No, no, no. They tell you this is the regulation, this is, where we are going, this is the products that are being built. So it helps you to kind of like get more attuned to the industry. So CoinDesk, look for that podcast.
All right. Thank you very much, Jackson. I can see Odusanya Teo. Please unmute and speak. Ask your question.
Hi, good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. And thank you for putting, this together. And thank you to all the speakers that have spoken so far. So basically, my question is that for postgraduate students, or let me just put it this way, I'm a recent graduate. So is it that graduate students who can apply to Bank of America for internship? Because currently I'm working as equity research analyst, and also I have the idea of trading forex, so, and also analyzing equity and all of those things. So because one of the things I think one of the career path I would like to go into is portfolio management, and so now the question is, aside the technical skills that you have mentioned so far, because I once attended a webinar just like this, that the one of the speaker made mention of learning programming to to give you an edge. So my question now is that, what, aside the technical skills and the soft skills of human relationships, so what are the other things that can give someone's edge, if possible?
Hey, were you done? So are you done with your question? Okay. Elizabeth, can you hear me?
Yeah, Chika, I believe he has some
Okay,
network issues.
all right, that's fine. So I had one part of his question about he doing a master's program and whether he can apply. So for this program, if eligibility is for those graduating in 2028, whether you are doing undergraduate or master's, as long as you are graduating in 2028, you can apply. There's another part of the question. I think for that, Olamide can take that and respond to it. Thank you.
Yeah, just so I get the question, is it in terms of if you can apply as a graduate? Am I correct? Is that the question?
Yes, so that is what I responded to. I actually didn't get the other part. I thought he was still on, but we can move on if he's able to join and there's still time. He can come back again.
Yeah, I know you had a question about him, looking into portfolio management, but yeah, I missed the last bit of his question.
Okay, that's fine. So we can move ahead when he joins. CNW. Yes, please, you can go ahead.
Okay, please. So the question I have is, so I'm a software engineer and I also have experience in handling data at scale, right? I'm studying computer science. I'm in my second year. So my question is, what is the best division that I can apply to? And I'll be graduating in 2029. And can I apply if I'm going to be graduating in 2029? And if I can, what's the best division I can apply to? So I was looking at technology and data. Yeah, so I don't know if that's right. Thank you very much. That's my question.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I can. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so I was just going to mention the eligibility again. As I mentioned earlier, it's largely for, in fact, it actually is for people graduating in 2028. As for the program, I mean, irrespective of the course you are reading in school currently, as long as you have an interest in any of the divisions or the pillars we have mentioned, you can apply. Yeah, so what is important is to have an interest in any of those areas. Yes. I think Olamide wanted to speak.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, yeah, obviously, I'm sure you can give proper guidance on, the eligibility. Yeah. But I mean, I just wanted to touch on the point. So yeah, you're studying in the software engineering again. Like Chika said, you can, apply anywhere really. But yeah, we feel like you have a stronger chance, in the tech department. I'm speaking for, Bank of America here. Jackson can touch on Bloomberg. But yeah, we have a tech division. And yeah, you should definitely apply to that, especially if you already have experience being a software developer, or you have knowledge of a few different languages. You can apply within global market as well. The truth actually is that because like we've said throughout this call, different divisions do different things. There are actually a lot of division in global market that are tech focused, right? So you might have heard about like quantitative trading firms. So these are firms that actually, trade based on technology algorithms and like, algos and signals in the market, and use less of a traders, but more of quant researchers, or basically software engineers that specialize in that area. So, but that division sits within markets. To maybe an outside person, you might feel like, oh, it's just market, but that role is actually more suitable for someone that already codes and is a software engineer. There are also rules that strictly regarding electronic trading. Obviously, as you can imagine, markets has moved not just from voice trading, where someone speaks without the phone, buy Vodafone, sell Vodafone, or buy Apple, sell Apple. You can send a signal or send an instruction through an algo. You can submit orders. All that is being processed technologically, if that makes sense, right? And that definitely
Okay. All right.
requires,
Thank you very much.
software engineers. So yeah, there are a lot of roles within markets, within tech division themselves, within investment banking, within all the different divisions that SEO would have mentioned that you can apply to that will require tech. So, you should apply for them. I don't know if there are limitations around applying for multiple roles. Personally, I don't think there's anything wrong in you applying even in multiple, as long as you feel like, you can be suitable, because you don't want to constrain yourself, right? You can be suitable for like different things. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you should definitely, apply to like different roles that you feel like, you would emphasize your strengths as a software developer.
Yeah, sorry, if I can just chip in there. I think if you're graduating in 2029, you're already doing the right thing, right? You're asking the right questions, you're being in the right circles. Olamide has already mentioned a couple of career paths I'm sure you probably didn't know about, right? Electronic trading, algo trading, systematic trading, names like firms like Citadel, like you can Google them, Citadel, Jane Street, um Optiva, a couple of names, right? These guys don't, it's not like, oh, Apple is a good company, so let's buy. No, they are trading based on numbers and technology, right? So you can use your skills there, and there are other applications of tech you have in finance. But if we even step out from finance, I know there's a Bank of America call, but like you could apply to Apple, you could apply to Google, you could apply to Meta. Like they're hiring Nigerians from Africa, they're hiring Nigerians from Nigeria to the UK or different parts of the world. So make sure you understand what's the breadth of opportunities you have, and then go for the one that suits you. So my advice would be find mentors, find people in the industry, and they link you to other people, and so that you have an idea of the opportunities, and then you can apply to anyone.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Olamide and Jackson. Faith, please unmute and speak.
Hi, good evening. I'm audible.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you so much for this session. So my question is, do I have to apply for SEO internship before applying to Bank of America directly? Because like this is my first time hearing of SEO, but last year I did put in application for Bank of America, the Sub-Saharan and Africa Data Analyst, so but I didn't get in, so and I want to like apply again. I'm still interested in applying. So what do you advise, what route do you advise that I go through? Although my background is in sciences, but I looking to pivot into tech basically. So for specificity, product management, and I'm currently intern and a product intern. So what route do you advise I go through? Do the SEO internship first or apply directly? And how can I go about the internship? Like this is my first time hearing about it. Thank you.
All right. So I would advise that you first of all apply to SEO, and then you go through our process. So once you are successful and you are selected at the end of the day, then you join the corporate immersion program, which is basically a training that will offer you ahead of you meeting with Bank of America staff. That is if you are able to do very well within the corporate immersion period, right? So we'll shortlist you and then submit you to the Bank of America staff, and you get to meet them for, I think, interview and a couple of other things. Yes. So my advice is that apply first to South Africa Bank of America program. Yeah.
All right, so but can you give like more details on the SEO program? Like when does the internship start? Is there will that still be a cohort this year? And how can I get to know about SEO more?
Okay. So applications are currently opened, and it is on a rolling basis. So my advice is to apply as early as possible. at the end of the day, like I said, once you apply and you go through the selection process and you are successful at the end of the selection process, you get to the corporate immersion stage. We don't make final decision on who gets selected to join Bank of America at the end of the day. But of course, you will go through the entire process until you get to meet with the Bank of America team where decisions will be made at that point. I believe, is your question answered?
Yes, thank you.
Very well. Okay. I can see Ayomide. Ayomide, please unmute and speak.
Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Oh, thank you. So my question is based on like the location. Like, is location a barrier? Let's say probably, I mean, like maybe Nigeria or Mauritius, which I am currently right now. When applying, do I need to, let's say I get shortlisted or probably in the route of being shortlisted, do I need to probably like be in the location of Bank of America first before my application, or is it more of an advantage also? That said, I also want to ask for the SEO program, do I need to be in Ghana specifically also for it, or is it something that could be run wherever I am? Thank you.
Okay. So you are asking about location. Location is not a barrier. As long as you are studying within an African university, you can apply. Like I said, if you are successful, I mean, throughout the selection process and it gets to the corporate immersion stage, where Bank of America staff will be in Accra, Ghana. That's actually after the corporate immersion stage. So when you get to the corporate immersion stage and you are successful from that stage, you get to meet with Bank of America staff. So getting to meet them will happen in Accra, Ghana, where you can then be moved from whichever country you are in to meet with the staff of Bank of America here in Ghana. Is that clear?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Very well. Okay. Okay. Okay, Fitz, I believe you asked your question, right?
Yes, I
Okay,
have a
great.
follow-up question.
Okay, great.
So,
Tewo, you had a question earlier. We answered one part of it. Please ask the remaining part, and then we can end that.
okay. So, should I go ahead?
Okay,
Fitz, you
thank
asked
you
your
very
question
much.
already. I'm asking Tewo to ask his question. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
All right, thank you very much. Having network issue at that time, I didn't even know whether the question was answered. So
Yes, so your question, okay, I think I sort of answered your question, but I don't even remember what exactly the question was again. So just go over it again so that we can respond to it.
all right, thank you very much. So the question was that I'm currently a recent graduate, so I'm currently working as an equity research analyst. So someone that looking forward to that global exposure. So it's more like it's like seeking for an advice. So that what routes can I apply? If I want to like get into the Bank of America or any other global firms like that. To get that global exposure. So I think that was the question.
Okay, I mean, is that something Olamide want to respond to?
Of course. Yeah, no, I mean, I think, ultimately, like, markets is the same everywhere, regardless of region. Obviously, you're already doing something equity related here in Nigeria. It can be different just by the fact that it's in the UK, but it's still the same concept. The product has the same characteristics, shares works the same way, if that makes sense. So yeah, the right thing again is the fact that you're here on this kind of sessions, gathering information, applying to these opportunities. So yeah, apply through SEO, research, different investment banks that might be doing this kind of roles. Again, which could be Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, in the UK, elsewhere also, like, there are a lot of investment banks that you can go through their career programs, either directly through SEO or or going directly to the website. I'm also sure there's a lot locally as well in terms of within Nigeria, in Ghana, in Africa, different places as well. So yeah, like the right thing really is just make sure you apply for those opportunities and obviously prepare yourself. Like we've shared so many tips throughout the course, podcasts, newsletters, making yourself aware, attending conferences, reaching out to people, finding a mentor, etc. So many different tips. But yeah, I say being here is one of the first steps to many, and is the right thing to do.
Okay, thank you very much, Olamide.
Yeah.
Okay, Chidinma, please unmute and ask your question. Chidinma, please unmute and ask your question, please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, please, I can.
Okay. Good evening. My
Good
name
evening,
is
please.
Tina, and I'm a third level student from University of Lagos. My question is, okay, first off, I want to thank SEO for putting up this section. It was really, really insightful. And also thank you to our speakers. So my question is, for me, I just got to know about global markets.
Chidinma, are you speaking? Hi, Chidinma, are you there? Okay. I guess she has connection issues. All right. All your questions have been answered at this point. Okay. All right. So at this point, we will draw the curtains here to 7:29. We've exhausted quite some time. If you want further insights on the various divisions or pillars, especially the global corporate and investment banking, which we covered yesterday, you can check on our YouTube channel for that, information on that particular division. Or if it is also general information on the entire Bank of America process, we also covered that on one of our events on Monday this week. So you can also check on our YouTube channel for that particular video as well, that you can watch and gain further information on the program. Yeah. All right. So thank you very much to our panel, Olamide and Jackson, for the very useful information you've shared with us today. I believe that we are more than inspired and excited to apply. Right. So to our audience, please apply. I think the link. Okay, David, can you please? All right, he has done that already. So the application link is in the chat. It's in the chat, so you can just copy it to your browser and then check it out. You can put forward your application right away. Like I said, this is on a rolling basis. We don't have a set deadline. So the earlier you apply, the higher the chances of you being you progressing to the next stage. That is the assessment stage, aptitude test and technical test stage. That is if you actually are qualified to get to that stage, right? So I will encourage that apply early. Do not wait, apply early, right? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. And we'll end it here. Thank you.